All right. What is going on, everybody? How are you doing tonight? It is Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern or 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. I am Boxman. This is Hollywood Hangout. I am back. I'm sorry for the clutter. Need to get this office cleaned up. I'll get that done. I will. I will. Really. I will. I don't need the headphones, the earbuds anymore. Sorry about last week, folks. I went and did some stuff with my daughter on Friday, and then Saturday I really was planning on doing the show, and I ended up getting a call at 5:20 in the morning that my father had a seizure. So we me and my sister kinda hung out the day with my mom and made sure everything was okay with my dad before we left that night, and, been been a rough week, man, but I definitely wanted to do this, and I'm still doing the same movie that I had announced a couple of weeks that I was gonna do, which is a great movie, which we're definitely gonna talk about, but, yeah, I meant to do it Saturday and just never it never even crossed my mind once I got that call at 5:20 in the morning. I mean, I had to drive an hour and 15 minutes, and it was rough. It was rough, but, I made it. He made it. He's okay. By the time I got there, he was okay, so everything's good, but, anyway, folks, let's go ahead and talk about the movie that we're gonna be talking about. Yeah, there we go. Let's go ahead and start getting into this. I am doing a Liam Neeson movie, but this isn't like the usual taken, I've got a special set of skills and not good for a man like you. No, this isn't that kind of movie. It's a more dramatic survival thriller type movie. He's doing, if he's fighting anything, he's fighting off wolves. He's really not fighting too many guys in this movie, but it's a really well done movie. Now, I will go ahead and say my scene to scene is gonna be pretty short tonight because really what there is to talk about in this movie is what these guys went through filming this movie. This movie was not shot in some cushy studio where these guys were just pretending in foam snow and things like that. Absolutely not. These guys were in sub-zero weather and suffering. I mean that. As we go through, um, that part after I go through the scene by scene, you guys will understand. These guys were th this movie was hell to make for every one of these guys. Every one of these guys went through hell making this movie. So, 2011, as I said, The Gray. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Man, what a fucking great movie. You know what? I meant to put this up. Here we go. Let's get this put up there. Here's the picture for the movie. Let me put me on the side. You guys don't really need to see me, but hey, what the hell? So yeah, The Gray. Now, I really hadn't watched this movie until about 2 years ago, and I decided to go ahead. Now, the open box. I'm sorry. I'm the I'm the DJ for the girls softball when they walk up to the plate. I play their music. That's my speaker. Uh, would you like me to take it down? I can take it down real quick. If it's really messing with you that bad, I'll do it. I'll take it down. I got no problem doing it. Let me know. Let me know, True North. I'll take it down for you, brother. Uh, really, I will if you want me to. So anyway, The Gray. Really hadn't seen it till about a couple of years ago, and when I finally watched it, I was like, "How did I not see this movie?" It's great. It is so well done. There's a lot of dialogue, which is another reason my scene to scene is gonna be relatively short. Um, but it's more than just a survival thriller. You get a couple of moments of comedy in the movie. You definitely get humility. You definitely get a lot of action, but it's more than just a survival thriller. You've got Liam Neeson. Give me a second here. I'm going to get this picture down. You've got Liam Neeson, who plays John Otway. All right. He's here we go. Let's get Liam Neeson up here. So Liam Neeson is playing John Otway, and you see the snow in his beard. It's trust me, when I get to this, you're not going to be you. I wouldn't have. This would have been the biggest nightmare. Me filming this, me doing this movie. I hate cold weather. Abs- Absolutely hate it. Anyway, so we've got John Otway, and the film immediately lines or outlines him as this grieving oil rig worker. He tells you what he's doing. Doesn't work on the oil rig. What he does is he protects the guys from wolves. If a wolf comes up, he shoots the wolf. He kills the wolf before he gets to kill the guys that are working. This is all supposed to be up in the Alaskan wilderness. We'll get to that later. Directed by Joe Carnahan. Now, that name's going to come up a lot because the director put these guys through absolute hell getting this movie going. But we immediately see that he's in a very bad emotional state. He's working with these guys. He's basically saying that they're all a bunch of, degenerates, ex-cons, drug addicts, former drug addicts, whatever. And literally, he is so distraught by, and we don't find out what. We finally find out he's having flashbacks of his wife who had died. And literally, one of the first scenes in the movie is him about to take a rifle and blow his head off. This is not the first movie he tries to blow his head off with a rifle. He does it in Cold Pursuit, too. 2 movies shot in cold places where he tries to blow his head off with a rifle unsuccessfully. Just saying. I see a pattern here. Maybe you do too now. Cold Pursuit is another great Liam Neeson movie. It's actually kind of funny. It's actually it is funny. There's a lot of funny parts in that movie. So it establishes him right away, and we basically see this whole, you know, scene of him flashing back to his wife, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool opening scene, but we see these guys are jumping on a plane, and they get on the airplane. He boards, and he gets on the plane with a bunch of other guys. I'm gonna get to the guys in just a few minutes. I figured that we would, get to Liam Neeson real quick in just a second. Now, we all know Liam Neeson. I'm not really gonna talk about a ton of I'm not really gonna get into the actors like I usually do tonight. Movies from 2011. All these actors have done a ton more since, so no big deal. But Liam Neeson was the first one I definitely wanted to get on here and talk about. Um, Still doing stuff. Matter of fact, just made a movie called Cold Storage just this year, which is I'd call it a sci-fi comedy, but a decent movie. Not one of his better ones, but a decent movie. And again, he's not kicking ass too much in this one either. He tries to, but not so much. Not so much. Anyway, they're getting on an airplane, and we see all this little cast of characters that he's with. He sits beside one guy. He doesn't even want to be there. And as they're talking, they're on the plane laughing, and suddenly the plane starts shaking, shimmying. Next thing you know, this is such a great scene the way this is shot because the plane starts shaking and you're getting this intense music, and then you see the plane flip and everything just goes silent for a couple seconds. Screen goes black, everything goes silent. And then you get to where he's waking up. Liam Neeson is waking up. And this is where he starts literally he realizes he's survived and he sees a few others that survived. And this is where we can kind of get into a little bit of this right now. Now, next person he meets is Diaz. We don't find out anyone's last name really till the end of the movie, but this is John Diaz. John Diaz is played by the one, the only Frank Grillo. I've talked about Frank Grillo before. He's part of the Marvel Universe. He was in a bunch of those Bruce Willis movies that I've talked about. And he's done obviously way more. But he is in so much stuff lately. He just came out of nowhere and just like burst onto the scene. And there's not a problem with that. I'm actually trying, I don't know why I didn't have all this pulled up. I'm sorry, folks. It's been just a rough week. Um, I've been back and forth to my parents more than I wanted to be lately. But yeah, I mean, no, I mean, he was in The Purge. He was in Captain America, Winter Soldier. He was Brock Rumlow. This year, he's already done two things. He's done Kill Code and Misdirection. He's in Tulsa King for 15 episodes. You name it, this guy is in it. He was Rick Flag Sr. in Superman. He was in Peacemaker, same character. The guy's been in a ton of stuff. But Diaz is sort of the antagonizer in this. He's the douchebag. He's the dick who everybody's pissed off at because he's gloom and doom and he wants to steal from people. He wants to do this. He wants to do everything these guys are not all about. You can see there's a little faith message thrown into this movie a little bit. But anyway, Frank Grillo was one of the other survivors he saw. Then we got Dermot Mulroney. That's played by Jerome. Dermot Mulroney plays Jerome Talgett. Now, I'll go ahead and get into this real quick. Dermot Mulroney, another one who's done a ton of things, really. We've seen him in More Than We Know, My Best Friend's Wedding, The Wedding Date, Young Guns, Dirty Steve. I mean, hell yeah. But he's also Dom Pascal in Chicago Fire. So that show is still on. He's been in, obviously they've had a few crossovers with Chicago Med and a few other shows. So he's definitely got some current stuff, but, done a few others, but I would know him most, and most of my audience would know him most as Dirty Steve and Young Guns, who lasts till almost the end of the movie. He does. And I'm going to take down Frank Grillo's picture and pull up Dermot Mulroney instead. Dermot Mulroney. Why do I keep calling him? My son is named Dylan. Probably why I keep saying it. Now he'd be the one on the bottom left. I couldn't get an exact picture of him that looked like him at all through in the movie. So he's there in the brown hat on the left. That would be Liam Neeson's right arm in the picture. That's him right there. And he's another one of the survivors. The other survivor is Dallas Roberts, who plays Pete Hendrick. Dallas Roberts is another great. I definitely have seen him in a few movies. I don't know why I didn't have this pulled up, folks. I apologize for me having to do this on the spot. But it's not that big of a deal. I could have probably not told you and you wouldn't have known. Yeah, you would have. You guys are too smart for that. 310 to Yuma, Dallas Buyers Club, Walk the Line. He was Sam Phillips in Walk the Line. Just did 4 episodes of Tulsa King. So, been doing things. He was in an episode of FBI, 6 episodes of American Crime. Definitely been doing stuff. But He's another one of the survivors in the movie. He lasts the longest. I'll be honest. This guy lasts the longest in the movie, makes it all the way to the end. Um, Most of the other guys just kind of get picked off one by one, which we'll get into as we go. That's pretty much the crux of the movie is these guys land, they all get together, and suddenly they're all getting picked off one by one. So next up, we've got Joe Anderson, who plays Todd Flannery. Now, this is the guy who sat beside uh, Liam Neeson's character on the plane, and he was very upset by it. But this guy has been in Across the Universe, The Crazies, The Ruins, uh, Murder Company. He was in an episode of Doctor Who, the newer ones that just came out, Backdraft 2, Cold Blood, The Reckoning. I saw The Reckoning. So he's done things, and he's kind of the annoying guy in the bunch. I guess you got to have an annoying guy in the bunch, and he would be it. Um, so that is him right there. Let me pull up a picture of him. I'm doing bad here tonight. Doing bad. Doing bad. Joe Anderson right here. And yeah, like I said, he was kind of the more annoying guy in the movie, but that it's cool. And yeah, I'm killing time trying to get the other IMDb pulled up here. I am, I am. So, other person that they find alive is Nonzo Anozie, who plays Jackson Burke. Now, he's known for Cinderella. He was in Pan. He was in Conan the Barbarian, the 2011 version. Um, Recently, he was in 4 episodes of The Sandman. He was in 24 episodes of Sweet Tooth, 3 episodes of Ted Lasso, and 2 episodes of The Mandalorian. So he's done some current stuff. But he unfortunately he is the one of the guys who kind of he's sick throughout most of the movie, and they end up losing him. We'll get to that part a little bit later. Let me get a picture of him popped up here for you guys. Couldn't find a picture of him in the movie at all, but that's close enough. So there he is right there. Pretty much the whole movie he had to just cough and play sick, and he did. So then we've got James Badge Dale. That's right, James Badge Dale. That's his name. Luke Lewendon is who he plays, and let me go ahead and get a picture of him up there before I forget. Now he's been in a few things too, obviously. Also part of the MCU. He was in The Departed. He was Barrigan. I'm sorry, The Departed for you Bostonians out there. 13 Hours, World War Z, Iron Man 3. He was Savin. He was in Violent Ends, On the End, 8 episodes of Devil in Disguise, a John Wayne Gacy story. Wow, didn't even know that was a thing. That's kind of cool. But he's in this, and he's not really in this long either. He's another one that kind of goes kind of quick. And then we have Ben Hernandez Bray. Ben Hernandez Bray, who plays Dwayne Hernandez. No, obviously not a stretch for him. Obviously not. Um, Ben Hernandez Bray plays Dwayne Hernandez. That's the way it goes. Now, folks, I got to tell you, I do have some storms tonight. If everything's lagging a little bit, I apologize, but we're going to get through it. Now, this gentleman is also, I believe he's also part of the MCU. Give me a second here. I might be wrong, but I believe he is. Yeah, in a way, mostly a stuntman. He's done stunts for Star Trek, Iron Man, Transformers, even did stunts in this movie, but ended up being in this movie. Only been in 58 movies as an actor, but does stunts Let's see. Let's go to actor real quick. That didn't do very well. That didn't pull up at all. Anyway, he plays Hernandez in this movie. I'm not going to sit here and do this. And the only other person we see some flashbacks of, the only female we see flashbacks of in this movie is Anne Oppenshaw, who plays Anna Otway in this movie. And she shows up just in flashbacks. We never actually see her exactly, but she does show up in flashbacks in the movie. Now, let's go ahead and get back to the movie. So, plane goes down in the wilderness. These guys are looking for survivors. They find the survivors, and they're starting to kind of see what's going on. What injuries do we have? Who's injured? Who's missing? They start looking through gear. Now, as I said, this movie was shot in extremely cold temperatures. We'll get to that in a little while. But the first night they're there, they get attacked by wolves. Now they're still where the plane is. Now, Otway, Liam Neeson, starts pushing the guys because he knows so much about wolves just because he kills them. Starts pushing the guys away from the site. Now, I think this is where he made the biggest mistake. I would have stayed right there. Got to realize if you go into the woods, they've got 4 ways to come at you. If you stay in the plane, what's left of it, they've got a minimum of or a maximum of 2 ways if there's a hole. So you kind of got a kill box you're living in. I would prefer to stay where I was. That would be me. But he decides to get the guys together. And it's funny, Frank Grillo is bitching about not wanting to leave, and I'm like, this is the one I would have went with Frank on this one. I think that would have been smarter. But he gets him to go, and he thinks that the crash site's just temporary. No one's going to find it. And they decide, okay, we're going to go. Now, his idea is, all right, hopefully we're going to go away from the wolves and their den. Okay, that's their hope. So once they realize they're being stalked by the wolves, they not only have to survive the cold, but now they have to survive encounters with wolves. And by the way, folks, wolf encounters aren't as common as this movie makes it seem. They usually are very scared animals, believe it or not. I wouldn't walk up to them and start fucking with them, but I also would not be worried about walking through the woods and being attacked by a wolf. I guess it could happen. So they realize they have to survive the cold and survive these, and this is it's never just one is the key. It's a pack. We all know that wolves travel in packs because the lone wolf usually gets fucking eaten by something. So they travel in packs. So they're not only worried about a wolf, but multiple wolves coming at them at a time. So you got a bunch of guys injured. They're tired. The wolves literally begin taking these guys out one by one. Flannery's the first one. His knee was fucked up. He couldn't make it through the snow. Flannery was number 1 to go. Basically, not as this happens, as I think anyone would, not only does their confidence start to collapse, but just their will to live is really starting to come into question here. I mean, we'll talk about that a little more after a few more minutes, but really a lot of things start coming into question. So once again, always starts having some flashbacks of his wife. Every time he falls asleep, he just can't stop thinking about her. And we obviously see he's kind of emotionally detached, and we see that at the start of the movie. So That kind of frames his mindset. The beginning of the movie frames his mindset. No, 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 sorry, True North. They weren't getting attacked by actual wolves. Um, I'll talk about that a little later. It was CGI and animatronics for the wolves mostly. And it wasn't Sting and Kevin Nash. It wasn't the Wolf Pack. Ooh. I like that. I like that little wrestling tie-in for the show. Mm, might as well stay hydrated. So the beginning of the movie tells you, as I said, you had Liam Neeson's character trying to blow his head off with a rifle in the beginning of the movie, commit suicide. And that should tell you exactly the state of his character throughout the rest of the movie. So the guys start realizing they may not make it. They may not have enough warmth, enough weapons to keep everyone alive. And this is where you kind of get one problem leading to the next. But, you have a good scene here where you kind of get the humbleness of a couple of the guys. You see a lot of these guys have grief in their life. A couple of the guys have kids that have passed away, um, loved ones that they've lost, which, I know everyone has that, but, you know, you don't really talk about that with people. People don't always talk about that. And they had this, again, this kind of humbling moment in this movie. And it was nice. It was nice to see. But you just see a lot of humanity in this little section in this part of the movie. And this is where you get Liam Neeson's character, John Otway, starts talking about his father and a poem he wrote. And this poem is in the beginning of the movie, and it ends up being middle and end. It basically is Oreo cookied into the movie, if you will. It's in all three spots. And here is the poem. I'm going to put a picture of it up here. It's not that clear of a picture, but he said he used to read it as a kid, and it just flashes by it, which is why it's so hard to read. But it says, once more into the fray, into the last good fight I'll ever know. Live and die on this day. Live and die on this day. There you go. So that was it. And it fits into the movie because they're literally off into the fray. Every time they are walking in the woods, they are in the fray. And it could be the last good fight they'll ever know. So it really fits the movie, this poem. And I always like that they kind of work it in the way they do. Now, you see, also in this scene, you get a little bit of talk about God and faith and what some of the guys believe in. You get Talgett, who's very faith based, and you've got Otway, who's more of a not so much in the faith based. You know what? It doesn't matter to me. Whether someone believes in God or not, to me makes no difference. So it doesn't matter. And when I say God, that means whatever God you want to, whatever God or deity you want to pray to. I don't. It means no difference to me. Good for you. I'm glad you believe in something. I'm glad it keeps you going. Awesome. That's how we roll, baby. Do what you want to do. I love it. So we get a little bit of that, but the Wolves keep fucking testing these guys, and one by one, it just keeps looking like they're not going to make it. And you just get through, even, after a lot of them are coming through, a lot of the wolves start coming through. The guys get to one point where they end up, there's four left. They end up on a cliff. They try to get past the cliff. They jump over it into the trees. One of the guys dies immediately going across, the guy who was afraid of heights. So it's really crazy watching this movie. Now, again, the the mechanics of the movie are 7 guys, 8 really with Liam Neeson. 8 guys get into a plane or survive a plane crash, are being stalked by wolves, and are being literally hunted and killed by these wolves one by one. So, by the end of the movie, you get Otway. He's basically alone, and there was much mention of the alpha wolf in this movie. Now, he realizes, if you remember, I said they were trying to walk away from the den. That's what they were hoping to do. Well, no. Literally, he walks, and by the end of the movie, he is directly in the den, Otway, Liam Neeson's character. And, he does what he can. He starts he rereads the poem one more time. He takes broken bottles and puts them on his finger. He's ready to fight the alpha. Now, I got to tell you, I think you could do a sequel to this movie just on the way it ended. You never see the fight. It could happen. It could happen. But it's a really, really great ending. It just ends with Liam Neeson looking tough as hell. And that's pretty much the ending of the movie. Now, I said before it wasn't going to be a very long part because really what was going on here is how goddamn cold it was when they were filming. Now, let's go through a few little production notes and then we'll get into some of the filming stuff that is just absolutely crazy. Now, Joe Carnahan, again, the director. Narc, Smoking Aces, The A-Team, did all those, directed them. This is based on Ian Mackenzie Jeffers' short story Ghost Walker. Movie did really good. The budget was between 25-30 million. Box office was 81.2 million worldwide. And this kind of reunited Carnahan with Neeson after, again, the A-Team movie. Bradley Cooper was originally cast in that movie as the lead before Neeson replaced him. So, Bradley Cooper, he does the voice of Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, he was determined, Carnahan, the director, was determined to shoot this movie in authentic extreme conditions rather than on a soundstage with CGI snow. He believed the real weather performances would look fake, or the real weather performances would be impossible to fake. Liam Neeson confirmed all the weather was all real. The storms, all the rest, absolutely the real deal. He said, you can't fake that. So here was the philosophy of Carnahan. He didn't want to film them acting. He wanted to film them behaving. So he threw them in extreme conditions, and that's exactly what he got. He said, if I had shot this, Carnahan said, if I had shot this on a soundstage with styrofoam snow, you would have outed me in a second and said that's fake. Not only did he do this, but he held preparation back from the cast on how they can, be prepared for warm weather or, cold weather coming up, dress warm. None of it. He felt that acclimating them ahead of time would kind of cheat the actual experience. So they had no time to prepare before the crash scene, and they were immediately thrown into the cold climate. Now, this movie only lasted 39 to 40 days of shooting. Thank fucking God. We will get to the temperature in just a few minutes here. Uh, from January 10th to March 3rd is how long it took to shoot, 2011. 39 to 40 days. It was mostly filmed in British Columbia. Now, it's a remote town about 200 miles northeast of Vancouver, about a 12-hour drive from the city. And they chose this over actually filming in Alaska, where the movie's basically set, just because it was more cost savings and more favorable, more locations to a major city, easier to get to. Now, when I'm telling you guys it was extreme weather, minimum of minus 40 degrees, confirmed by Liam Neeson and multiple cast members. The director stated that the coldest day on Hudson Bay was minus 37. So they are not used to this stuff. There were literally, including the chill, the wind chill factor, there were days it reached negative 50 degrees Celsius. Frank Arillo said that he arrived and it was minus 25 with 4 feet of snow and 70 mile per hour winds when he arrived. Oh, fuck. So literally, we see them at points in this movie walking through the snow. Literally, the snow in some points was waist deep, even some points neck deep, depending on the height of the actor, obviously. Frank Grillo is not a small man. Liam Neeson is a tall man. So poor Frank probably couldn't even, I think he comes up about to Liam Neeson's neck. So that snow was probably neck high for Frank Grillo. He's one of those little jacked as fuck dudes, by the way. Oh, I talked about him a couple weeks ago in Boss Level. If you watch Boss Level, he is jacked as fuck. So there were days though where it was complete whiteout conditions. So there were days where literally Carnahan said a person could walk 15 steps away from the set and you had no clue where you were and you couldn't see them. They were just gone. And you'd be completely disoriented because it would just be white everywhere. You wouldn't see anything, snow everywhere. 55-mile-per-hour winds in those conditions, forming icicles on actors, eyelashes, craziness. Now, the other reason it's impressive they got this movie done within 39 to 40 days was because they only had 5 hours of usable daylight at a time in a day. 1 hour to go down the mountain, 1 hour to go back, or 1 hour to go up the mountain, 1 hour to go back down, and then 2 hours of preparing gear. So that left about 5 hours for filming. So these guys were just going through absolute hell, everything they were doing. So Liam Neeson said on the first day of shooting, he was wearing only a sweater for the post-crash scene, and that was what he was wearing when they crashed. And he basically said, "We're never going to finish this film. It's impossible." He feared the film was going to finish him, and something bad was going to happen. He also experienced brain freeze so severe that he couldn't process lines. He said, "I knew I had a line to say or a piece of script, and the thought process going in my mouth was sometimes really, really hard. Just couldn't get it out. He was so cold that his just brain wouldn't work." Yeah, True North. I think that was the name of the town. Yeah, he says Hudson Bay is in Ontario, not British Columbia. That might have been the closest town that they were close to. That might have been it. So He also said, if you went out for a pee pee, I'm quoting Liam Neeson here, folks. That was interesting because it froze. That's fucked up. That is fucked up. But he said basically we were walking 25 yards through this stuff, and the receipt, some of the scenes were requiring multiple takes. Actors, they couldn't reuse their own footprints because they had to make it look like it was the first time they walked through these scenes, and it was just crazy. So they were struggling to walk through fresh snow each fucking time they had to do this. Um, he also, Liam Neeson also said that he wore so many layers he felt like the Michelin Man. He said he had boots that were rated for -60, and he wore no socks because they were insulated boots. He said you didn't need them. Now, Neeson started figuring out a little bit of prep training. Okay. Yeah, okay. It was made in Smithers, British Columbia, near Hudson Bay Mountain. Thank you, True North, for the extra information. I appreciate that. So Neeson started figuring out some ways to prep. He decided not to share this with his other guys. So what he would do is he would stand under a freezing cold shower. Now he watched a British swimmer who trained for Antarctic swims do this. He would stand in a cold shower for about 10 to 15 minutes every morning. Now, this is what he would do, and he never now, so he was used to a little bit of cold already, and he never shared this with any of the guys. He also decided to meet with some real oil workers to research this role and this character, and he said they're surprisingly sensitive men, and occasionally they just have to take down a polar bear or some other wild animal. It's just the way it is. So, also, cell phones didn't work on the mountain, so they couldn't contact their families during the day. They had to wait till night to do it, till they got back where they were going. And both the director and Dallas Roberts, both suffered frostbite first week of shooting, and a few of the guys just got it along the way. Now, there was a part during that humbleness meeting that I had talked about where they actually kill one of the wolves and they end up cooking it. Liam Neeson literally says, we're going to shove a stick up that thing's ass and we're going to eat it. And they do exactly that. The director actually had the cast eat wolf meat that had been frozen for months. Neeson found it quite nice. He said it was kind of a gamey chicken. The rest of the crew got physically ill and couldn't do it. Carnahan said, it was just a mental reaction to what they were eating. It wasn't any food poisoning or anything. Nah, don't worry about that. Now, another hardship they went through in this movie, which I assume was really, really tough on these guys, was it was so cold the cameras would seize. The crane would froze that the camera was on. It would, do one shot and then freeze where it was. So they'd have to get up there, figure out a way to undo it. So it really became digital scanning to minimize moving parts. Equipment still froze and locked up, but at least he didn't have to worry about the cranes anymore. So this movie was really shot kind of old school. If you think about when this movie came out in 2011, everything they had available to them, this was an old school movie, the way it was shot. Now, they couldn't use the loudspeaker because they couldn't hear through the wind and everything. So all the actors had little earwigs, little small receivers, so he could communicate with them. And they would reach about 400 yards. so they could talk to about 400 yards away. That's pretty cool. Now the radios that the crew had to be kept. They had to keep them like under their shirts and stuff so they wouldn't freeze. And the night scenes were horrible for them to shoot because of lighting. Snow bounces light so much. So they said literally some of the night scenes looked like daytime. So they had to go back and figure out how to work the lighting and do this and do that. So, but as soon as they got those cameras out of there, they literally put those cameras into heated jackets, and they had fitted, basically sounds to me like they had like pizza delivery jackets for them. But as I said, not a lot of wolves were really used, mostly CGI and animatronics. Um, when the guys were running through the snow in fear, what they were doing was Carnahan was playing sounds of bull elephants over loudspeakers. So that's what they were running from. Sounds of bull elephants. But no, Liam Neeson never got close to any real wolves at all, so that was no big deal. Now, last thing I got. Frank Grillo was out there and he was doing an interview once, and he said he didn't realize how dangerous filming in this was until they were on snowmobiles in such severe whiteout conditions that the crew made everyone get off because they were afraid somebody would veer off trail and go over the 3,000-foot cliff. And he said that's when he realized, wait a minute, this is actually dangerous. I could die filming this movie. So these guys went through hell filming this movie, but it turned out to be an incredible movie. Literally, you could stick this on my, number 11 on my 10 comfort movies. I do watch this movie a good amount. I like Liam Neeson. I like Frank Grillo. They have a very good kind of adversarial chemistry in this movie against each other. So it, and like I said, this movie was shot so old school that's why it comes out looking so fucking great, because it's shot like an old school movie. It's shot on set, not on set, on scene, rather than being on a set. And that just makes this movie a lot better for the aesthetics. And, at one point they're, trying to wake up one of the guys. The guy who was sick died while he was watching on watch. And, the wind is like, it sounds like it's like 50-mile-an-hour wind. And Liam Neeson is yelling at him in his face. Now you realize that fucking wasn't fake wind. It was real. So Liam Neeson in The Gray is a great movie. If you have not watched this movie, it is worth watching. Packers fan says for Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, they shot some of the snow scenes from inside a hotel hallway, shooting out into the parking lot. That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me. Who cares? Those were great movies. Anyway, folks, I thought it would be better. I mean, this movie is what it is. Again, a survival movie where these guys are just trying to survive. They're getting picked off one by one. But what they went through filming this movie is really what I thought was kind of the meat and potatoes of this podcast. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be back next week. Like I said, I did not expect to take last week off. I totally wanted to do the show on Saturday. But when I got the phone call at 5 a.m. that my dad had a seizure, it just became the last thing on my mind. I had everything ready. I didn't have to do a thing tonight to get ready for this show. Nope, I was lazy. So I decided to change up the thing a little bit. I'm gonna get a layout, start using Streamlabs again since I do most of these shows on my own now. I'm gonna start using Streamlabs, get a nice little layout going so we can make these shows look a little better too. I might as well commit, you know what I'm saying, boys? Anyway, folks, I appreciate you guys coming by. Appreciate y'all listening. Really wish y'all would like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. And I'll be back next week. I didn't I didn't bring in my phone, so I don't have my list in front of me. But I'll let you know what we're doing. But as far as great movies, I would put this movie up there as great movies. And knowing what you know now, I think it should even be a better movie. So you folks enjoy. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. True North, thanks for stopping by, my man. See you next